Good evening, this is Rob Wilson and welcome to the Euro-Dollar market preview for Monday the 14th of May 2012. And going into tomorrow's session, I am a seller of any weakness at 129.15 and I'm a buyer at 128.80, but only if we get there quickly. Only if we get there quickly. If you want to understand the method of my madness, then stick around and we'll get into it. Well, looking at the chart here on the 1 hour scale, we see that yet again, for the second week on the trot, the euro has done its dive south on a Sunday. Indeed, it's gapped down, just like it did last Sunday, and perhaps unsurprisingly, it's currently sitting on or around the support that we identified last week at 128.80, and we can see a little bit of reaction there. When I look at the downtrend, in a broader context, we see here that it's for the moment at least, it is following an eminently sustainable slope. There's nothing overexcited about it. It is observing the broad channel, the trend channel that it's sitting in, and given sufficient time, this could go an awful long way. Where does that leave us, for tomorrow? Well, I wouldn't be at all surprised if price were to, from where it is now, get down and test the bottom of this channel around, sort of 128.70, 65 is always a good number for a reversal. Personally speaking, in terms of getting short, then I'd want to see this channel closed, and I think 129.15 might provide a good shorting opportunity. And that bearish bias, of course, doesn't disappear right up to 129.40, 50. And indeed, from a longer term perspective, we could go almost as high as 130 again, and still have this this bear trend intact. So primarily we're looking to short pullbacks as and when we can during the session, and the only caveat to that, really, as far as I'm concerned, is should price dive overnight and overextend to the downside. Let's say we get down as far as support at 128 even, then I think there's a good there's a great counter trend opportunity trading back towards resistance, back towards the channel boundary. Okay, but certainly as it stands at the moment, I certainly wouldn't be looking to go long off the channel boundary itself, because I think that the higher probability is that this will the gradient of this descent has certainly got the mileage to accelerate, if anything. So going into this market, then really, that bearish bias is still very much intact, and I'll be looking to short the gap, 129.15. I'd have another go at 129.35 and see if we can capture an acceleration to the downside. And say the only caveat to that will be if we super extend overnight, then I think we could be looking there may be a counter trend opportunity. Looking at news tomorrow, the fundamentals, there's not an awful lot to say, to be honest with you. There's some euro numbers at 0.500, and apart from that, there's we've got a tentative Italian 10-year bond auction, which again obviously could move market. But apart from that, a very quiet day. That isn't to say that the market will be need necessarily be quiet because of that. The information is already out there, and like I say, this, if anything, this trend is going to gather pace, at least in the short term, in my opinion. So in terms of a summary, and at risk of sort of repeating myself, we can see that after a pretty thin range last week, actually, just about 150 pips, which is not a lot for a trending pair. The bear trend is at least trying to reassert itself on this Sunday night. We've got structural resistance at 129.15, the gap closure. 129.35 to 65, anywhere in that area, is good. Is a good zone to be focusing on a pullback. And then indeed up to anything up to 130. Support then below price. We're currently sitting on or around 128.80, and then below that there's not an awful lot between 128.80 and 128 even. News tomorrow, not an awful lot. Some euro numbers at 0.500, and then this tentative Italian 10-year bond auction going on during the sort of London forenoon. Plan then, well, going into this session at least, our bias is bearish. We're looking for those short trades against well-defined resistance. unless we overextend to the downside, and I mean a real burst there down to about 128 even, then I might have a go at a counter trend trade back to the channel boundary. I hope that helps you. If there's a huge change in the situation, we'll be looking at updating you at 0300 EST. Otherwise, rest up and good luck in your trading tomorrow. Wilson out.